Hello students, I received quite a few mails regarding issues faced by you people in determining the machine cycles for 8085 instructions and also sketching the timing diagram. In this video, we will cover the topic of instruction cycles, which includes various machine cycles with respect to 8085 instructions. So let's begin. Before I delve into the main topic, let me give you an analogy. Whenever we have to cook any dish, we first need to fetch the ingredients, and once everything is there on our kitchen table, then we need to execute the recipe. If a dish requires more ingredients, then more time is needed to fetch the items from the market. Time and again, this example will be cited, so please keep this in mind. Similar concept is applicable to instruction cycle related to your 8085 instruction. Let me now list out some important concepts which will be very helpful in understanding the instruction cycle. The first point is instruction or code is stored in memory, which is RAM or ROM. This also includes code for your I/O devices. Now, I/O devices are also called as your peripheral devices, and this code for the peripheral device is basically the driver software. So the driver software is loaded into the memory and then executed to read or write the data from the peripheral devices. Therefore, there is a difference between code and data. So please understand that point, that the code is the one which corresponds to the software or the instruction codes, whereas the data is the one which gets transferred from your memory or from your peripheral devices, and it is a standalone unit. It's a data. So let me write this part here. The second point is instruction code consists of an opcode. So instruction code is equals to or opcode. Now, opcode is also called as operation code. It's the short form we say as opcode. This operation code tells the microprocessor what needs to be done, or what the microprocessor should execute the next, or what is the functionality of that operation code. Now, opcode may or may not be followed by an operand. So usually the instruction code will be in this format. You'll be having an opcode followed by operand, or you can have in this format also opcode, operand, comma again an operand, and in certain cases just you'll be having an opcode. So let us take an example for each of them. For an opcode, one of the example is if I write here CMA, that is complement the contents of accumulator. It is a standalone instruction. Here you don't need any operand. That is why it is also falls in the implicit addressing mode. The second case, that is opcode followed by two operand. The example is move A comma B. So here as you can see, the two operands are, one is A, that is a accumulator register, and the another is B. Another example, if I want to list out, you can write MBI A comma 20H. Now in this case, A is one of the operand, which is the register, and 20H is in form of a data, but it is also part of the instruction, and this is the second operand. And in both the cases you are having an opcode. Here in the first case the move is the opcode, in the second case it is MBI. The third example in which only one of the operand is present, for this you can write ANA B. So and the contents of accumulator with the B register. So here the operand is just your B register, whereas the opcode is ANA. So instruction code starts with an opcode, and it can have either of these formats: opcode followed by an operand, opcode followed by two operands, and just a standalone opcode. So this is the second important concept which you should understand. Moving to the third point, any instruction or code needs to go through three cycles, which is called as fetch, decode, or execute cycle. It is similar to fetching the ingredients for the dish you are making, decoding or understanding the processes need to make that dish, and finally executing the process to get the dish ready. As discussed, the instruction has to be fetched from the memory, whereas the data can be read from the input device or written to the output device. Also, it can be read or written to the memory. Depending upon this, we have four machine cycles. Now, what are these machine cycles? We can either read from the memory or write into the memory. So therefore, we are having a memory read cycle and a memory write cycle. Likewise, we can also read the data from an input output device or also write it into the input output device. So depending upon that, we are having IO read and IO write. Though it is a misnomer that we call as IO read or IO write, because in reality we only read from an input device. So it is basically input read and output write, but it has been followed as a convention, or you can say that it has been time and again mentioned in the text, IO read and IO write. That is why we have written here IO read and IO write. Hence we will follow this notation. Also, all these machine cycles, that is memory read, memory write, IO read and IO write, it takes 3 T states for execution. So we can write, now please note it is 3 T states and not 3 seconds. Now what do we understand by these T states? T state is the time period of the microprocessor clock. So I can write time period. Here MP is abbreviated to be microprocessor. So the one T state is equals to the time period of the microprocessor clock. For example, if 8085 has a clock frequency of 5 megahertz, so I can write frequency is 5 megahertz. Usually we see in our Intel processors of your laptop, the frequency will be given in gigahertz, while that of your 8085 it works with a clock frequency of 5 megahertz. So here, if we want to find what is the value of one T state, so that is the time period, I can mention is T equals to 1 divided by F. This will be 0.2 microseconds. It is understood that memory read cycle take 3 T states. That means the memory read cycle takes 3 into T, that is 0.6 microseconds. So time taken. So here I have written time taken for the memory read is 0.6 microseconds. The same is applicable for your memory write, IO read and IO write. So this is your third point, which is very important for understanding your instruction cycle. The next part is for your 8085 microprocessor, the fetch and decode, that is this part, fetch and decode, it takes place in one machine cycle which is called as opcode fetch. Let me write here. It is represented as OF. Now, why a different machine cycle is used for this purpose? If you notice, this opcode fetch is basically memory read, because it needs to read the instruction from the memory. I have mentioned it before that all the instruction or the code is stored in the memory. So if the microprocessor want to fetch the instruction, it will be fetching it from the memory. Since it is fetching from the memory, it is performing a memory read operation, that is MR. So it will take 3 T states. That is the fetch part. Microprocessor also needs 1 T states for decode, and this will be included in your opcode fetch. So opcode fetch, if I want to write, it is basically your memory read plus decode part. So that is why it takes 3 T states for your memory read and 1 T states for your decoding part. So in total, your opcode fetch takes 4 T states. There are certain exceptions to this opcode fetch for some specific instructions, so that we'll be discussing later. For time being, the general method is that opcode fetch takes 4 T states, and why only opcode fetch requires 1 extra T state for decoding. For example, let us take MBI A,20H. Now here the opcode is MBI. So if the microprocessor fetches this MBI, it will understand that it needs to move an immediate data. So based on the first instruction itself, it can very well understand what will be the next operand, and accordingly it will do the required function. So that is why the opcode fetch takes 4 T states, which involves memory read and decode. Now coming to your fourth point. The fourth point is the instruction cycle, which means what are the machine cycles which are involved for executing the complete instruction. Now executing just does not mean simply executing, it involves both fetching the instruction from the memory as well as executing. So it is referred as instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Now in short, we usually write instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. So IC equals to FC plus EC. Fetch cycle only involves fetching the entire instructions, and the execute cycle involves executing it. Please remember, don't get confused between these two parts. Fetching means you have to fetch the instructions from the memory. Fetching will also include the decode part. Alright. So fetching means you have to bring the instructions from the memory. Executing means what the instruction demands to be done, that is done by the microprocessors. So that will be coming in the execute cycle. We'll be solving many examples, so that should make it clear. But for time being, please understand that these are two separate categories, fetch cycle and execute cycle, which together will make your one instruction cycle. Coming to the next point, that is the fifth point. Fetch cycle is dependent upon the size of the instruction. So I can write, this size of the instruction can be easily found out by seeing the instruction. The instructions are stored in the memory as said earlier. So let us take some example. Suppose we have the instruction move a comma b. Now move a comma b will not be stored as such in your memory. Why? Because your computer will not understand what is MOV or a comma b. It needs to be encoded in a binary format and it is read as hex code. So 8085 microprocessor has 8-bit data lines. Therefore, the smallest possible hex code is of 1 byte. So what will be the instruction size of your move a comma b? What is the format here? It falls into your opcode followed by an operand, and again you are having one operand. Now the two operands which are here are a and b. Here a and b are references to the registers and not the immediate data. That is, there is no hexadecimal value provided here, or there is not an address provided here. So why I am saying address here? Because your 8085 has 16 address line and 8 data line. So neither there is an 8-bit data or a 16-bit address. Hence, this entire instruction will take the least amount of size, that is 1 byte. So you can keep this as a thumb rule. So where both the operands are registered, then the instruction size is 1 byte. So I can write here, this instruction is of 1 byte in size. Let me take another example. Suppose we have this instruction MVI A, 20H. So here again we are having the same format, opcode. This is MVI and the operand is A and 20H. Now if you notice, this 20H is a data which is embedded in the instruction itself, but this 20H will require 1 byte because 0 in hexadecimal needs 4 bits and 2 in hexadecimal will again need 4 bits. So this itself will take 1 byte. So minimum 1 byte will be needed. Along with that, the microprocessor also needs to encode MVI A, so that will take the least possible size, which is 1 byte. So here the size of this instruction is 2 bytes. So let us take another example, jump 2050H. So in this case, if you notice, 50 will take 1 byte because again, as per the previous understanding, 20 took 1 byte because each hexadecimal digit will take 4 bits. So here 50 will take 1 byte, likewise 20 will take 1 byte. So this entire 2050 will take 2 bytes. Now jump also has to be encoded in a binary format. So the least possible size is what? 1 byte because of the data lines. Therefore, this entire instruction is of 3 bytes in size. Let us take another example, CMA. Now CMA is complement accumulator. Complement accumulator, here this is just an opcode. There is no operand in that. Since the opcode also needs to be encoded in the binary format, which can be of minimum of 1 byte, so therefore we can consider this to be 1 byte in size. Therefore this instruction is 1 byte in size. Another example, if you want, you can take LXI D, 1234H. Now if you see this instruction, here 34 will take 1 byte, 12 will take 1 byte, and LXI D as such will take 1 byte because D is a register, so reference to one register will not require any extra space. So for this opcode, that is LXI D, it will take 1 byte, so total of 3 bytes in size. So the general format or the general method which you should follow for determining the instruction sizes, you should proceed from right to left. So when you proceed from right to left, start counting the number of bytes which gets used up. If you encounter any data like this 1 2 3 4, here you are having a 16-bit of data, so 16-bit, that means 2 bytes will be minimum, and along with that you see this will be LXID, so this will also need 1 byte for storage. So the total of 2 bytes for this, 1 byte for this, it will take 3 bytes. If you see this case, if you move from right to left, again 1 byte for this and 1 byte for this, 2 bytes. So you can very well easily figure out how much size the instruction is and what will be the space required for storing that instruction in the memory. So moving to the next point, microprocessors like Intel 8085, 8086, etc. follows the Little Indian format. So I can write. Now this means that the lower byte of the sequence gets stored to the lower memory location and the higher byte goes to the higher memory location. So Let me explain this by means of an example. LXI D1234H. Now this is 3-byte instruction. So if you want to store this data in the memory, how it will get stored? Let us consider the memory location starting with 4000H. Now 4000H, because it's a 16-bit address line for your 8085. So 4000H, the next memory location will be 4001H, next will be 4002H, and so on. This instruction, if you try to dissect it, we get that LXI is an opcode, D is a register, so it will not be requiring any extra space. So LXI D will be occupying 1 byte in terms of a hex code. 1234 will be occupying 2 bytes. So how the values will be stored is LXI D. Let us consider the equivalent hex opcode for LXI D is, I'm assuming, you need to check the data sheet for LXI D, what will be the equivalent hex code, so you can search online to get it. Let me assume that the equivalent hex code is 10H. So this 10H will be stored here first, because 10H will be fetched by your microprocessor and it will be decoded. The microprocessor will understand that 10H corresponds to LXI-D. So it means load, extended, immediate, D, and since D is coupled with E pair, so DE pair will be loaded with 1234H. Now how this 1234H will be stored, that is what is all about your Little Indian format. Now if you observe 1, 2 and 3, 4, I can divide this into two parts. 3, 4 as the lower byte, 1, 2 as the higher byte. The Little Indian format means that the lower byte will be stored in the memory first, or the lower byte occupies the lower memory location, the higher byte occupies the higher memory location. So I can write here. Here what happens, this 4001H and 4002H, the lower memory location is 4001. Now this 34, since it is a lower byte, this will be stored at 4001, and 4002, which is the higher memory location, that will be used for storing 12H. So this is how your data will be stored, and in the same manner the data will be fetched also. So since your microprocessor 8085 has a 8-bit data line, so first 10H will go, this will come under opcode fetch, so it will be fetched, and after that what will happen is this will be decoded. So the microprocessor will understand, since it is load extended, so it will be needing 2 more bytes of data. So here it will read the next memory location, which is 34H. So lower byte is read first, followed by your higher byte. Now here we are having a Little Indian format. There is another format called as Big Indian format, which is just the reverse of that. But in your 8085 microprocessor, that is not used, so I am not discussing that. That format is used for your networking, computer networks, and data transmission. So when you are going through that subject, you will come across this. So this is your 6th point, that your 8085 microprocessor follows your Little Indian format. The 7th and the last point to be noted here is, if any operation doesn't require the microprocessor to access the memory or the input-output devices, then no additional T states are expended by your microprocessor. So let me write it down first. You can take an example of cooking a dish. If you already have the ingredients at your home, then it takes quite a less time to cook it. And in some cases, like a packet of chips at your home, even that time is also not required. The same concept is followed here also by the microprocessor. If it already has all the data and the elements which has to be used by the opcode within itself, so it need not to go outside the microprocessor, that is to the memory or to the input-output devices, to perform any operation. Therefore, no additional time will be needed for executing that. So keeping all the concepts discussed above, that is from point 1 to 7, go through it. You can go back to the video and just note down all the things, and when we are trying to understand the machine cycles or the instruction cycles involved for executing and fetching the instruction, so you can refer these points, so things will become much more clear. This you need not to by heart or mug it up. If you have understood the concepts, you can very well understand to determine the instruction cycle for each instructions. So let me take certain examples. First example is the most simple one, move A comma B. So here, how will we be determining your instruction cycle? So I can write instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Now this instruction is of how many bytes? So I can write this is of 1 byte. We have discussed it above, so I will not be repeating it here again. Now 1 byte instruction. So this will be stored in the memory. So suppose this move a comma b will have a hex opcode of, you can assume anything. Otherwise, if you want the exact data, you can refer the data sheet. So move a comma b, I'm assuming the hex opcode of this is 35H. So 35H will be stored in some memory location. You can assume it to be stored in 4000H. So if the microprocessor wants to fetch this instruction from 4000H, then it has to perform first operation will be your opcode fetch. So here I can split it up. Your fetch cycle equals to opcode fetch. So opcode fetch as a thumb rule will be the first machine cycle for every instruction. Why? Because the first thing for any instruction is an opcode, and the microprocessor can proceed to the next step only once it fetches the opcode and decodes it. So you can understand the first cycle for any instruction will be a fetch cycle, which will be opcode fetch. So here, once the microprocessor has fetched the opcode and it has decoded it, it understands that it needs to move the data from B to A. So move A comma B means the source is B and destination is A. So the data will move from B to A. Now A and B are the registers which are present in the microprocessor itself. So if you see the rule number 7, if any operation doesn't require the microprocessor to access memory or IO devices, then no additional T states are needed. So here the no additional T states will be needed, and therefore the instruction cycle will only comprise of your opcode fetch, which is equivalent to 4 T states. Let us take another example. So let me label this as 1. Second example, add A comma D. So here, how much is the instruction size? So the instruction size is again 1 byte because both of them are registers. So this is 1 byte, and if you try to write it in this format, instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. So 1 byte, it will be again stored in the memory location. You can assume it something. If the microprocessor fetches it and decodes it, it will understand that it needs to add the contents of A and D and store it in A. So that is the functioning of your add instruction. Both the things, that is D and A, they are registers, and both the registers are in the microprocessor. The end result, that is, let me write it here, the source operands are in the registers, the destination operand is also registers. All these things are inside the microprocessor, so it again need not to go out to access memory or IO devices. So no additional T states are needed for execution also. So again here this will take 4 T states. Next example is RLC. So RLC, it's just an opcode. So opcode will take only 1 byte for storage. Here again it will take 4 T states, the same logic what we have seen before. So instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. RLC means rotate the content of accumulator towards the left, and all the things which are needed for executing this instruction is there inside the microprocessor, that is your carry flag as well as the register, that is accumulator. So here again your instruction cycle will be only fetch cycle. So in all these cases execution cycle is not being performed explicitly, it is just taking place in the fetch cycle itself. So instruction cycle here is just the fetch cycle. I'm just writing here fetch cycle plus execute cycle, but execution cycle will not take explicitly, so it will just be fetch cycle, which will be opcode fetch. So this will again take 4 T states. Let me move to the next example. Move A comma M, you know, is a memory element. So if you try to recollect, M is equivalent to HL. So it is content of HL pair. So here HL pair will be providing an address. Now what is the content will be stored in that address that has to be loaded into your accumulator register. So if you try to put it in this format, instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Move A comma M. Now M is a memory pointer, A is a register, move is a opcode. So this entire instruction will just take 1 byte because no additional data or address is provided. So this is a 1 byte instruction. Let me write it here. It's a 1 byte instruction. Since it is 1 byte, your fetch cycle will only involve opcode fetch because no additional data has to be fetched. So I can write fetch cycle will just take opcode fetch. After the microprocessor has decoded that okay, it's a move A comma M, that means the content of the memory element or the memory pointer has to be moved to A. So suppose, let me take an example here. The content of H is 50H and content of L is 60H. So we have to get the content from 5060H, and this we have to move it to your accumulator register. So let us assume the content of 5060H is 35H. So this 35H has to be moved to your accumulator. Now this 5060H is a memory location. So microprocessor has to go outside the microprocessor and it has to reach to the memory element, get the data. So this will perform a read operation. So in the execution part, it is memory read. Again, I am trying to clarify. See, fetch cycle, as it has already been mentioned, you can read this. Fetch, decode, and execute. Fetch cycle and decode cycle takes place in one machine cycle, that is your opcode fetch, and fetch cycle is dependent upon the size of the instruction. Okay, so in the fetching part, it will only depend upon the size of the instruction. So since it's 1 byte, it just needs to read that 1 byte of data. Now 1 byte of data, if it reads, it will only be opcode fetch. In the execution part, execution means it has to implement what this instruction says. So this instruction says the content of the memory pointer needs to move to A. For that, it needs to read this memory address. So that is why the execution cycle comprises of memory read. Therefore, this instruction cycle equals to opcode fetch plus memory read, that is 4 plus 3 t states, that is equals to 7 t states. So this is the final answer for your move A comma M. Let us move to another example, that is example number 5. So it is MVI A comma 20H. Now instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Before that, we have to find what is the instruction size. So instruction size here is just 2 bytes, 1 byte of this, 1 byte of this. So it takes 2 byte. So this is 2 byte instructions. So if it is 2 byte, what will be your fetch cycle? So fetch cycle, first it will fetch this part, that is MVIA, because it will be converted into a hex opcode. So that is opcode fetch plus. Now here we are having one data as an operand 20H. 20H will take 1 byte, which will be stored in a memory location. So this will take one more memory read operation. After that, we have to execute it. Now you understand, now once you perform a memory read operation, this 20H data has gone inside the microprocessor. Where it needs to be stored? It needs to be stored in accumulator. So execution cycle will not involve any machine cycles because everything is there inside the microprocessor. It need not to go outside to reach to the memory or your IO device. So execution cycle will be nothing. Therefore, your instruction cycle will just involve opcode fetch plus memory read. This will take 7 t states. So if you notice, here also 7 t states we had in the previous instruction move A comma M, whereas in the MVI A comma 20H also took 7 t states. The difference between the two is in the execution cycle the memory read was performed, whereas here in this case the execution cycle did not involve any machine cycle. The memory read was there in the fetch cycle, because in the execution all the data pertaining to this instructions were inside the microprocessor itself. So let us take this example, ANA 60H. Now what does this instruction means? Here the contents of the accumulator will be AND, or a logical AND will be performed with 60H, and the content will be stored in the accumulator register again. So what is the instruction size of this? It is 2 bytes, because 60H itself will take 1 byte and ANA will take 1 byte by itself for storing the hex opcode. So here, if I just copy this part and paste it here. So what fetch cycle, opcode fetch. What about your next part? That is 60H. 60H again has to be fetched from the memory. So fetch cycle will be opcode fetch plus memory read. What about execute cycle? In the execution part, the 60H is now already inside the microprocessor because it has been obtained via this memory read. The AND operation has to be performed by the ALU, which is again in the microprocessor. The destination, which is A, will hold the end result that is also present in the microprocessor. So again, no execution cycle will be involved. So this will take again your opcode fetch plus memory read, so which will take 7 t states. We are done with this example. The 7th one, let it be LXI D comma 1900H. So as discussed above, this LXI D, 1900H, the instruction size is 3 bytes. If we find the fetch cycle and execution cycle, let me copy this and paste it here. Let us start with fetch cycle. Now LXID is will take 1 byte for storing the opcode. Then we are having the operand, one is D, so this will be included with the opcode itself. The other operand is 1900H, it's a 2 byte. So here we'll be having opcode fetch. Memory read, in this memory read cycle your 00 will be read because it's the lower byte. So this is stored in the lower memory location as per the Little Indian format, and in the next memory read cycle, that is the higher byte will be read from the higher memory location. So this will again be memory read. So opcode fetch plus memory read and memory read. Now what about your execution cycle? If you notice, the LXI means load extended immediate the DE register. So extended means DE we are counting. So 1900 has to be stored in DE register pair. So 19 will go into D and E will contain 00H. So therefore the execution cycle will not contain any machine cycles. Hence your opcode fetch plus memory read, that is your fetch cycle part, will only be coming here. So this will take 4 plus 3 plus 3, that is equals to 10 T states. So one more example, if we take, let it be LDA 2050H. So as per the discussion above, you can very well figure it out. It is a 3 byte instruction, and the same thing, instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Now fetch cycle for 3 bytes, this will be the same part, opcode fetch plus memory read. So I am not explaining that part. So this will be same. What about your execute cycle? Now LDA means load the content of accumulator with 2050. This means 2050 content will be sent to your accumulator register. Please remember, the LDA command means load. So load means the data will be moved from the memory to the register. STA means store. That means the data will be moving from your register to the memory. So suppose if we have our data at this location 2050H as 60H, so this 60H will be moved from, that is present in 2050, to your accumulator. So here, once the microprocessor has this entire content, it has to execute this instruction. To execute, it needs to reach this memory address. So here what will happen is, it will read the data at this address and place it in the accumulator. So in the execute cycle, you will be having a memory read operation. So if we combine it, so this will take a total of 30 T states. A similar example, if you want, you can take as STA 2050. So this will be same thing if I want to write, but here the content of the accumulator will be stored into 2050. So here let me write, this is the content of accumulator. So the content of accumulator will be stored to 2050, and the accumulator already contains 60H. So 60H should go to 2050. So what will change here? Opcode fetch plus memory read, that is the fetch cycle, will remain same. In the execute cycle, understand here, store means the data will be moved from register to memory. So you are performing a memory write operation. So in this case, it will not be memory read, but it will be memory write. So I can write here memory write, but still it will take a total of 13 T states. Even though both LDA and STA took 13 T states, the execution part was different. In the execution part, it was memory read, whereas in this case, it is a memory write. The next instruction is in 65H. Now you are aware of the input output instruction. So in 65H means that 65H is with your port address. So I can write, so there is an input device which is attached to this port 65H, and the microprocessor will be reading the data from this input device. So the data which is there at 65H will be sent to your accumulator. So I can write, when we have to find the instruction cycle for this instruction, that is in 65H, let me follow the same way. Instruction cycle equals to fetch cycle plus execute cycle. Here the fetch cycle will be how much? To determine that, you have to find what is the instruction size. So 65H itself is 1 byte, and in will take another byte because it has to be converted into binary. So 2 byte is the instruction size of this the fetch cycle will take, the first it will do an opcode fetch. After that, once the opcode fetch has happened, that means your in has been decoded by your microprocessor, and it will understand that it will need an address. So it will do a memory read operation to get the complete instruction inside it, that is 65H will be read. So this is your memory read. In the execute cycle, the microprocessor needs to read the data from the address 65H. So this is the part of your execute cycle. So let me try to revise it again for you. You will be having a fetch cycle and execute cycle. In the fetch cycle, you will be performing an opcode fetch followed by memory read, because you have to read the 65H data. After that, in the execution part, what this instruction will do, that is what happens in the execution part. So in this instruction is meant to read the data from the address 65H. Is a input output device, or it's basically an input device, so it will perform an IO read operation. So execute cycle will be IO read, and therefore your total instruction cycle equals to opcode fetch plus memory read, opcode fetch 4 plus 3 plus 3. So this will take a total of 10 T states. If you have taken any other instruction like out 65H, or let me write it here, out 65H is already connected, so let me take this as 67H. Now the data from the accumulator will be sent to the output device whose port address is 67H. So the same thing will happen here, only one change will happen. The fetch cycle will be opcode fetch plus memory read, so that will be same. What about the execute cycle? In the execute cycle, the microprocessor needs to write the data from the accumulator to the output device. So instead of IO read, it will be IO write, and the number of T states will remain same, that is 10 T states. So we are done with your input output instruction. The next category of instruction will be push and call. So once we are done with that, we'll be winding up with this video. The next instruction is push D. As per the format of the push instruction, the D corresponds to a register pair. That means it is a DE register whose content will be pushed onto the stack. In the class when we were discussing about the push instruction, I have explained in depth about the push instruction, so you can refer the notes there. I'll just write in the sort, the content of D is moved to the stack first, followed by the content of E. And why D is moved first and thereafter E? Because you remember the Little Indian format, the higher byte will go to the higher memory address and the lower byte goes to the lower memory address. In the DE register pair, D is the one which is the higher byte, and when we are performing a stack operation, we are going from bottom to top, that is from higher memory to lower memory. Therefore this format is followed. If you want to determine the instruction cycle for your push instruction, first will be the fetch cycle. Now push D, it is a 1 byte instruction because there is no immediate data provided here, so I can write here it's a 1 byte data. So push will have the fetch cycle which will only be opcode fetch. What about the execute cycle? In execute cycle, as we see here, the content of D is moved onto the stack. Stack is nothing but your memory. So the microprocessor is sending the data from one of the register to the memory, or it is basically writing the data of the content of D to the memory, which is a memory write operation. So one memory write for this and one memory write for this. So therefore, two memory write operation. Now if we write in total, push is one of the special instruction which has opcode fetch taking 6 T states. Why 6 T states? Again, I have explained this in the class, so please try to recollect that part. If I start explaining this point here again, it will again take 20 to 30 minutes for that part, so I'm skipping that portions. Opcode fetch will take 6 T states, and memory write plus memory write again 3 T states plus 3 T states, which takes 12 T states. A similar concept is also applicable for your call instruction. So let me mention that also. Call. Now call is followed by an address. I am taking a call instruction which is an unconditional call. So let me write an address 1234H. Now first we have to determine how many bytes this instruction is. So 1234H is 2 bytes. Call will itself be having a minimum of 1 byte, so total of 3 byte instruction size. In order to determine the instruction cycle, the same method will be following. Will comprise of fetching the call instruction, that is your opcode fetch. Then the lower byte will be read, so it is memory read. Then the higher byte will be read, so 2 times memory read plus memory read. What about the execute cycle? The execute cycle will have to send the program counter value onto the stack, because call is basically a function call. Therefore, the program counter value has to be saved, so that once the function gets executed, it needs to return back to the same position where the microprocessor was executing the data. The program counter value will be saved onto the stack. Program counter value, it is a 16-bit and it will require 2 memory write cycles. So 2 memory write cycles will take place. Therefore, the total instruction cycle will be opcode fetch plus memory read of memory read for fetch cycle, and thereafter memory write and memory write. So this will make a total of, now this is 3 3 3 3, so this is 12 t states, and this is call is another instruction which will take opcode fetch as 60 states. So this is similar to your push instruction for the initial part. The reasons I have already explained in the class. Okay, so 60 states plus, so total of 18 t states your call instruction takes. I will just provide you the list of instructions which takes opcode fetch as 60 states. There are not all the instructions which take, there are only a few specific instructions which take 60 states. So I'll just list out the instruction. The first one is your call instruction, or I can just write call, then conditional call, then followed by return, which is return, I mean to say conditional return. Then you are having INX, that is increment extended, so you have to increment the extended register pair. So if I say INX D, so it means the content of D and E register pair are getting incremented as a whole. So INX and DCX, followed by SPHL. So here the content of HL is sent to your SP. And next you are having push instruction as well as PCHL. So the content of HL is sent to your program counter. So these are the only instructions which take opcode fetch as 60 states. So you can easily remember by following the acronym CRISP. So I'm just making the letters bold, so you can follow this method. If you remember this CRISP acronym, and with that you can follow up what are the instructions which makes use of 60 states, and accordingly you can decide the machine cycles. With this, we are done how to determine the various machine cycles involved in one instruction cycle. Once you have got this right, then it will be very easy to understand the concept of timing diagram. I have explained timing diagram in depth in the class, so in the next video I'll just provide an overview of it and also how to use the 8085 emulator. That's all. Thank you.